Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning from Australia. Just waking up to the latest press release from the Moscow Police Department regarding the murders that took place on the 13th of November in Moscow, Idaho, for college students Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Santa Conodal, and Ethan Chapin. It's just inspired me to discuss the comments that keep flying around the internet about how this case is going cold. And I've not only heard, members of the community saying that, but also the media, which is incredibly disturbing because they're perpetuating something and it's not accurate. This case is far from going cold. The press release doesn't provide the sort of information I expect people will be hoping for. It goes through where they are at the moment, including providing a video that you can watch on YouTube. If you're not already following the Moscow PD website, you can actually sign up to get the releases as they come out. They talk about how the residence at 1122 King Street is remaining an active crime scene under police control. They discuss that remediation is going to begin at the residence by a private company, which includes things like removing potential biohazards and other harmful substances used to collect evidence. It talks also about how police are going to continue to patrol the area. What's relevant to this live is they also mentioned that investigators continue processing and working through more than 9,025 emailed tips. They're working through more than 9,025 emailed tips, 4,575 phone tips, and 6,050 digital media submissions. They've also conducted over 300 interviews. They're doing a lot, and they've got a lot to do. Investigators believe someone has information that adds context to what occurred on the night of the murders and continue requesting additional pictures, video, and social media content. Our focus remains on the investigation, not an individual's activities displayed in the tip. Whether you believe it's significant or not, your information might be one of the puzzle pieces that help solve these murders. Digital submission of tips and leads will not be publicly disclosed due to our ongoing commitment to keep information private, and details may be pertinent to the ongoing criminal investigation. Now, that paragraph is incredibly significant. Just the amount of work they have to do to go through all of these tips that are coming in from different mediums. But not only that, but also the number of interviews they've already had to conduct, over 300. Do the people that are saying this case is going cold have any idea how long all of this stuff actually takes? Not only that, but an earlier press release indicated that there's still some forensic testing to come back. But for some reason, the public on this case thinks it all should have been solved overnight. And because it hasn't been, they are repeatedly saying, in fact, if you go onto Twitter right now, the first two tweets, this case is going cold. Who taught them what cold case means? Why is everyone so confident about this? Let's have a look now at definitions of cold case. Now, there's no set definition that everyone follows. If you Google it yourself, you will find lots of different definitions. There doesn't seem to be one consistent one. So I thought I'd just show a few different things. But let's start with this article. From masterclass.com. Recently updated, in fact, on the 21st of December. I do wonder if they were inspired to update it because of all this chatter online. Yet people seem to be ignoring it. So the characteristics of cold case investigations often need more physical evidence. Now, there's quite a bit in this article. I'm not going to go through every part of it, but what I do want to look at is what is a cold case. So essentially, it's a crime that investigators haven't legally resolved. Solving crimes requires clear witnesses, suspects, and evidence. And without these factors, cases can become cold. These cases can baffle police departments and thwart law enforcement agencies like the FBI. Investigations that go on for more than a year without resolution can have a disastrous effect on the family members of a victim in an unsolved murder, sexual assault, or missing persons case. Absolutely. And we all want justice. I think that's one thing everyone online wants. They want whoever did this to be caught, convicted, and punished. No doubt about it. Criminal investigations involving homicide and sexual assault in certain states are not subject to a statute of limitations and can take as long as necessary. Cold case squads will seek new evidence, human remains, fingerprints, crime scene eyewitnesses, camera footage, to reopen case files. Cold case units also rely on forensic science to better understand older cases and original investigations. And there's plenty of examples of cases that went cold that were later solved because of advancements in technology, especially regarding DNA. The Idaho murders do not meet the criteria of a cold case. And the reason they don't is because information hasn't run dry, essentially. We just had a look at the press release, and they are literally still going through almost, 10,000 emails almost now, 9,025, 4,575 phone tips, 6,050 digital media submissions, and they've conducted over 300 interviews and probably will need to conduct many more. They're also still waiting on some of the test results to come back from the crime scene. There is so much for them to continue to investigate, and you have to be painstaking with this. You have to go through every single tip. Eventually, those bits and pieces all come together like a puzzle, and when you're confident that the charges are going to stick and a conviction is likely, that's when you arrest and charge the person. The one thing none of us want is for somebody to be arrested without significant evidence to achieve a conviction and have that person walk free. Characteristics of cold cases are difficult to crack because they inherently involve some element of mystery and the passage of time. It goes through different types of mystery and the types of crimes where evidence might be hard to find, serial killers who change their location, and I still think that's an incredibly likely scenario. I feel that with over 300 interviews, all of the people really close to this house and the victims and the people that caught up with them that night and so on, they've all been interviewed. I think the fact that nobody close to them has been arrested indicates this person is long gone and may have not really had any direct or traceable connections to the victims. Time, long periods between new evidence are also characteristic of cold cases. These guys are flooded with evidence at the moment and information and tips to go through. This case hasn't gone cold. In fact, it's far from it. Did a bit of a snoop too because I wanted to see if I could find a police department that had information about cold cases on their websites, and I stumbled across the definition. Again, the definitions can vary. I've seen Wikipedia, I think, says more than 12 months. This is the Houston Police Department's definition of it. And again, I'm just showing you some different sources just so that you understand. The time period is kind of important, but what's really important is, has the information run dry? Like, are there no tips left? Are there no leads left for them to follow? So the Houston Police Department do discuss cold cases, and they simply answer the question, what is a cold case? And I think it's a pretty good definition. It's a pretty consistent one that's used throughout the true crime genre. It's a pretty consistent one that's used between different police forces, police departments. A case becomes cold when all probative investigative leads available to the primary investigators, Moscow PD, State Police, FBI, are exhausted, and the case remains open and unsolved after a period of 3 years. The time really, it varies. I've seen 12 months a lot. I've seen 3 years quite a few times as well. But the thing that's actually the most important regarding cold cases, it's when all probative investigative leads, and we just went through how many leads and tips the Moscow PD, State Police, and FBI are going through, that are available to the primary investigators, who we've just named, are exhausted. Cold cases are reviewed to determine if newer technologies or forensic testing may produce any new potential leads. That's the other thing too that people don't understand. A cold case doesn't mean it's case closed on the shelf, in some dusty archive room under the police department, never to be considered again. It's still open. It's just cold because all of the tips and leads have run out. And like I said, there's gazillions of cases that went cold. And then with DNA technology and everything else, ultimately perpetrators have been caught or identified. But the Idaho 4 murders are a long, long way away from this. Leads and tips are not even close to being exhausted. And this page talks about, follow-up investigations, newer technology, forensic testing, viable leads, new information. They'll be matched to the appropriate case and assigned for follow-up investigation. Moscow Police, in a sit-down interview with CBS, James Fry, the police chief, had this interview, and he said that investigators are still waiting for crime lab results from evidence collected at the scene of the murders. It's not the movies, is something he actually said in that interview, if you've seen it. He's like, we don't get results back in an hour. Everyone has to be patient. So, yeah, we've got results coming in. We've still got a heap of tips coming in different ways, emails, phone calls, social media, you name it. Over 300 interviews have been conducted. They're still waiting on DNA results. This case is far from going cold. So, yeah, I doubt that anyone that actually keeps saying the case is going cold is even going to watch this. I know I'm preaching to the converted on here, but I'm just putting it out there in the off chance someone stumbles across it and has a little think about what exactly cold case means, because most of you are getting it very, very wrong. Give the police time. The FBI are on this case too. Someone commented under one of my videos. I responded and then, like a pathetic little wimp, deleted that comment. But part of my response to them was specifically on point. Not only are people constantly talking about this case going cold, but they're constantly criticising the Moscow PD. Where is the criticism of the state police and the FBI who are also investigating it? Because if you think all three different departments are inept, you do better. Or if you're going to have a crack at the Moscow PD because it's taking so long and the case is going cold, why not throw the state police and FBI into the mix? Because they're investigating it too. Anyway, it's a lovely day. The sun is shining. I'm far from cold, and so is this case. Until next time, don't get hit by, don't get struck by a smooth criminal.
DJ Глобаша.